Doctor, what is the value of science and secularism in today's society?
Well, it's the same value it's always had. It allows us to make good decisions about the world and enhances our lives for appreciating the wonder of the universe. Without the pursuit of knowledge is a secular activity, and the way to understand the universe is a scientific method. Empirical evidence and reasoning based on that empirical evidence and testing based on that reasoning, and it's brought us to where we are today. So the value of it is that our whole civilization depends upon that procedure, and the future, and more than any other time where we face global challenges as a civilization, from climate change to beyond that, we're really affecting the world on a global level in a way we've never done before. More than any other time in human history, the need to base policy and action on sound empirical evidence and reasoning based on that evidence is more important than ever. And so the utility of science for society has been evident if you look at the last 400 years, but it's more important than ever now. And equally important for solving problems, or equally important as solving problems, is the cultural benefit of science as a human intellectual activity, which along with art, music, and literature, makes the experience of being human worthwhile.
How does one put forth that agenda? It's all fine and good to say that, but do we just kind of follow our nose? You know, when I say we, the uncleansed masses, so to speak, how do you put forth that agenda?
Well, I think we all have. I mean, as I often say, I'm an educator, and I'm fond of a line that if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I think what we can do is educate, and that means not just me. I'm in a fortunate position to be able to reach a lot of people, but all of us can, families, school groups, and other things we can promote. We can promote in our local communities thinking rationally and relying on evidence, and then we can vote that way, and some people can run for office. So I think we all affect our local communities in various ways, and then together we can have a much bigger impact globally. So it starts in the home, and you work to encourage your kids to openly question and think about things, and encourage them to help work with you to find answers to some questions. But how to question and how to separate the wheat from the chaff, it's a long process, and there's no magic bullet. If there was, we'd be using it. But I think we have to be prepared to speak out wherever we can, and as openly as we can, and forcefully as we can, and as convincingly and entertainingly as we can. And all of us have different options in that regard.
What's the biggest stumbling block towards that?
We're working against many centuries of entrenched power intellectually and economically. The church and political organizations have great power and have a great history, and the church has usurped morality, and we have therefore centuries of civilization to try and overcome.
Don't take this wrong way. Mm-hmm. You know how old I am, you know how old you are, we know how old Richard Higgins was before he passed away, and Dr. Dawkins. Is there a new guard coming up, and does the new guard of science-minded people also have to be not anti-religion so much, but a denouncement of religion as a stumbling block to
I don't know. I try to not to keep involved in sort of movements per se. Some of them adopt me at various times, but scientists need to be true to the science, and some of them, not all of them, need to be able to communicate to the public about what's happening in science, and to explain the wonder and beauty of what's going on. And a side benefit of that is eventually overcoming myth and superstition. Recognizing the potential evils of religion in society is a useful thing to do when you're communicating to the public, but I think that good young scientists should do science, and if those who are interested in science and society or public policy or writing or communicating should make an effort to do that, and as their work in science proceeds, they'll have more and more of an effort to have an impact outside science.
Let's divide it up into three three groups: those who are totally against, those who sit on the fence, and those who promote. That middle ground of people who think the people who have a voice should just shut up and let the world go as it's going.
My favorite line is it's from, in that regard, from Ricky Gervais, who was in a movie, and he said, no, he said,
He says that a lot.
He just said, something like, well, it's something to the effect of, we know you're an atheist, and we encourage free thought, so you should just shut up about your views.
Yeah,
something like that. He said it funnier, and I can't remember the details.
Precisely that. So, I mean, here, I'll give you an example, and not that it has anything to do with me. Say someone they feel a personal onus, personal responsibility to call out something that is glaringly wrong and misleading, and they do so. And another person will say, well, you should have just sat on the fence. It has nothing to do with you. People are allowed to say what they want to say. Your intervention on that level is really you sticking your nose where it doesn't belong.
Well, look, I mean, another favorite line of mine comes from Stephen Fry, who more or less said, "Oh, you're offended by what I said. Big deal." In the sense that the people who are offended, they own the offense, and they can choose how to. They can say, you know what, what you said offended me, and here's the reasons, and let's have a discussion. Or they can, try and chop your head off, or whatever it is. And ultimately, look, we shouldn't, unless people deserve it, we shouldn't attack individuals for who they are. We should attack the ideas, and that kind of attack should be free and open. No idea should be protected in any environment. Of course, we live in a society, and we need to recognize the rights of others, and so we need to live in some sense within the context of certain social conventions about what is respectful of individuals, and so if you're obnoxious, you're obnoxious. That's the way it is. But I think that people who feel that you should not attack their ideas, that those ideas that should not espouse those ideas in public, because they should be subject to discussion. But I don't think, it's a personal view, but I don't think you need to go out of your way to try and hurt people whose views may be ridiculous, but if they're not being utilized to influence others, maybe giving them solace at some level, I would feel very conflicted about attacking someone who needed solace. I would try and work with them. And so I think the idea is we're human beings. You're trying to be sympathetic to the needs of other human beings, at the same time try and do the right thing for what you believe to be the right thing. There's no magic formula.
Right. Okay, so we are March 19th, 2016, and I'll ask this question, and we're going to put it in a time capsule, pull it out later. When will we have a first secular world leader?
Probably already have. But I don't make predictions. I'm not in the business of making predictions. The only thing I predict are things that are 2 trillion years in the future, for good reason. First, it's easier to do.
Sorry, really?
And secondly,
this future, right?
And secondly, no one's around to dispute me exactly. But I don't make predictions about what's going to happen in the next few years. It'd be nice if that happens, and we should work towards that goal, I think, because the issues that politicians need to deal with are secular issues, not religious ones. And but how that will evolve, I wouldn't have thought we would have a black president in the United States 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. I wouldn't have thought that would be possible. I wouldn't have thought gay marriage would be determined by the Supreme Court the way it was. So I like to be surprised.
Right.